Saudi Cup, and welcome to another episode here for the Funkit Pod Mindful Media and Communication. And it's all about fighting today, as you see from the title. I want to dive a little bit into what happened last weekend. What happened with Ryan Garcia versus Devin Haney, and not just because I'm a fight fan, because yes, I am, but I'm more of an MMA person, Muay Thai person than a boxing person. But of course, I was intrigued by Ryan Garcia versus Devin Haney, mostly because of Ryan Garcia's antics, though. So, for those who don't know, let me just quickly set the stage. And don't worry, it's a media podcast, right? So don't worry, but I want to set the stage. So Ryan Garcia used to be undefeated until last year, I think, like a young up-and-coming boxer, very like loud and brash, and I don't know if you consider him handsome or not, but like I guess good-looking, fit, definitely. I would assume in his 20s or something. Then last year he lost to Tank Davis, and now he basically came back into the spotlight to fight Devin Haney, also a very accomplished boxer, very famous boxer, and the lead up to the fight was just crazy because it was not just like the normal like I'm gonna beat you. Ryan Garcia like kind of like went off the rails, and people are like, what's happening with him? Like he acted crazy. In interviews, he just like completely ignored the question, started singing and finger snapping and whatnot and grooving. Even his opponent, Devin Haney, was like, I don't know if he takes it serious. And then he would just, run around telling people that Bohemian Grove abducted him and things like this. He's still kind of like on the train saying he has some information, but whatever. Like, so he acted like Alex Jones if Alex Jones was a boxer, basically. And that led people to believe, like, what's wrong with him? Is he on drugs? Is he on cocaine? And things like this. It's always like, oh, cocaine is a hell of a drug, because people thought, like, he might be on it. Not too far-fetched, knowing that Oscar de la Hoya is involved. But so that was like the stage. Okay, that's the stage. And then even like the day or 2 days before when they had to weigh in for the fight, Garcia actually missed weight by 3 pounds. And he was chugging what looked like beer while he was on the scale. And they made a bet before that he had to pay like $500,000 per missed pound. So he had to pay $1.5 million to his opponent, Devin Haney. And he didn't seem bothered at all. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to kill him anyway, whatever. And just like this, those antics are never see. It's like pro wrestling antics, basically. And so now I want to dive into like, why did he do that? Because the outcome, as we now know, is he dominated Devin Haney. He knocked him down several times, won a unanimous decision, obviously. The ref, even people say, saving Devin Haney here and there. So it might have been all worth it. And I want to now dive into like, how did he do it? Why did he do it? Why did it work? And as you know, in the podcast, we discussed different theories. So one theory that completely is a basic theory in media studies, and you all know it if you follow the podcast, but it really fits very well here, is the agenda setting theory. Right? The agenda of Ryan Garcia obviously was like steer the public attention, of course, get the conversation going, get people interested in the fight, but also make the people believe that he has no chance. Because what he also did, he was a huge underdog when it comes to betting. And, sports betting is a big thing in the US. He was a huge underdog. So he bet, I think, $2 million on himself and won $12 million. So the betting odds were completely against him in like a very high margin. So you could say maybe he kind of like actually, like he influenced it, obviously. That's crazy. So agenda setting, like agenda, A, make himself the super huge underdog. Secondly, get conversations going, get people talking about it, make sure people tune in, because I assume that he also gets a cut of the pay-per-view money. I'm guessing that's usually how it goes, right? So, well done. Agenda, check. We could also talk about another basic theory, the use and gratification theory, right? When people, actively seek out media that satisfies their individual needs, such as information, personal identity, integration, social interaction, entertainment, right? And Garcia antics checked like all of that. Like it's entertainment, maybe even identity. Like you're like, oh, he is who he wants to be. Just let him be. He's totally himself, for example. All right. So he checked those boxes. And as you know, more on this in just a second, but we like to watch things that we don't really do ourselves. And that also fit here very well because, of course, we're not superstar boxers and we're not like going all crazy in the media and things like this. Yeah? And you're like, oh my God, what's happening here? I have to tune in to see what Ryan Garcia is doing now. Yeah, so user gratification, check. Ryan Garcia, it's like he should have a media degree. We can also talk about the cultivation theory, right? Another basic one. As you, again, know, long-term exposure to media shapes the audience perception. We talked about this many a times here on the podcast. So Garcia repeating his behavior, trying to make sure that the audience perception really is, kind of like changing the way he wants it to change. And it's completely atypical to normal boxing promotions. Normal boxing promotions like, I'm going to beat you more. And that's kind of it, right? But Ryan Garcia took it off the rails and keep repeating it, cultivating it to make sure that the audience A, buys in, but B, thinks he's crazy. So good job here. And hand in hand with that goes the framing theory that we also discussed earlier like in previous episodes. We know that media coverage shapes and frames the way events are interpreted by the audience. So Garcia in this case could frame himself as the big underdog, the villain that you want to see fail, for example, right? So kind of well done because he was the big betting underdog. People tune in to see to see him fail massively, unless you're a supporter, of course. Worked, right? Everyone's talking about it, trending on social media, everyone was posting about it. Well done. Now after the fight, now the media, of course, also uses framing him as maybe a trickster because he came in overweight, because he just acted crazy and fooled everybody. But that's not what the media does, of course. From a Ryan Garcia point of view, he also used something that we discussed once or twice here in the podcast, which is symbolic interactionism. Yeah, as you know, people interact with symbols within society. And those symbols create meanings for us, right? We add meanings to symbols. So then the way Ryan Garcia interacted with the media, of course, influence how fans, critics, other boxers, his opponent, perceive his persona and his actions. So seeing him sitting somewhere shirtless, for example, with his gold chain, that's symbolic interactionism, right? We assign meaning to it. Look how he sits there, all smug and stuff, and doesn't care at all, doesn't give a damn in the world about his next fight. He's gonna lose. So yeah, that's all symbolic interactionism, assigning meaning to symbols that we see in the world. And very well done again, playing with symbols, playing with behavior, making us believe what he wants us to believe, fooling everybody. And hand in hand with that, there's a theory we had, I think, once, the performance theory. Right? This means that social interactions are more viewed like theatrical performances, if you will, okay? Where individuals, such as Ryan Garcia, manage impressions of the audience. So his behavior is a performance designed to elicit reactions, of course. And like I said earlier, in the framing theory part, that's exactly what he did. So everything we saw of him in the media was just one big performance. So he's chapeau, Ryan Garcia, well performed, right? Well performed. Every time he's on the media, on a podcast, on whatever, performance right there. You never know what you get with Ryan Garcia. In this case, very well played. Can he do it again now that we know that? But in this case, very well played. Another one that we discussed a few times before also fits here, I think, the media ecology theory, if you remember that one. There we say that different media affect human perception and understanding. This kind of explores how the platforms that Ryan Garcia used influence the reception and the effects of his behavior. I think that makes sense. He's on different platforms. He went to lots of podcasts, he went to serious podcasts such as the PBD podcast, Patrick Bet-David, and so on. So he used different platforms to really make sure that everybody on TikTok, on Instagram, on X, on YouTube watching podcasts, that everybody knows that he's crazy. That was pretty well done. So again, hats off to Ryan Garcia. And I also want to throw in a little bit of postmodernism, because we haven't talked about this in a while. In postmodernism, we can see that reality, right, what we perceive as real, is constructed through like language, symbols, and hence can also be deconstructed to see like how does it happen. And Ryan Garcia, I think, his media persona, his performance, that challenges all those traditional notes of like what a boxer should be like. He doesn't behave like a traditional old school boxer, like I'm just here to fight. He doesn't do that, right? He's completely different. He's off the rails in this case. And so if you look into like some theories that relate to postmodernism, we can look at hyperreality, for example. As you know, if you're like in the media student and so on, Sean Baudrillard came up with the idea or the concept of hyperreality, where the media creates a reality. So it's so pervasive that it begins to replace the real world. Right? In this case, Ryan Garcia, they create the version of events that become more real to the audience than his actual boxing skills. If you look at his actual boxing skills up until his loss to Tank Davis last year, and I mean, he lost, but he also like was strained, had to lose lots of weight. So if you look at just the skills and just the influential factors, you could be like, he was really good up until then, undefeated. Then he goes down to the weight class, starves himself, and then loses to Tank Davis. You could be like, yeah, but if he comes back up in weight and if he's healthy and fit and he's still very skilled, so he should have a chance at least to beat Devin Haney. But because of like his hyper real persona, right, his like crazy, maybe on drugs, what's wrong with him? Does he have CTE? What's happening? Did he get abducted? And then this becomes our reality, how we see him, and that's why we don't give him a chance in the ring, because he looks so crazy on the internet or in the media. So that's basically hyper-reality at play. And hand in hand with this, again, another theory that relates to postmodernism, society of the spectacle, right? We know that modern society has replaced direct experiences with like mere representations of experiences, making like the whole life like a spectacle. So you want to see spectacular, crazy things because you don't experience it yourself. You're not going to the boxing room with Devin Haney. You're not going out there running topless, shirtless around New York City or whatever it was. So his whole fight promotion was a spectacle, like super engaging, and you can't help but to tune in because your life is not as spectacular as what Ryan Garcia delivered. And that's why we followed all of it. Like, what's going to happen next? What is he going to do now? Oh my God, he's crazy. Let me tune in. Okay? So that's the society of the spectacle that we live in. And all this said, right, of course, led to also a bit of psychological warfare. And like this whole media manipulation part obviously also affected his opponent, Devin Haney. Right? So everything that he does in the media, Devin Haney sees. And then in one of the interviews where they've been together in the same room, Haney was like, I don't know if he's taking it serious. And maybe that also led to Haney not really taking Garcia serious. Like, he's not taking it serious, so I got this. Like, I'm the best boxer in the world. I got this. Right? So very smart of Ryan Garcia to use the media for this kind of psychological warfare as well, manipulating the media to manipulate his opponent. And it's pretty crazy. He's not the first one to do it, but he's the first one to go like off the rails like that to do it, right? Usually it's like intimidation and like, I got your number and whatever. But in this case, he went a completely different route. And they needed to take lots of planning, by the way. It's pretty impressive. It's a completely different route, using the media to manipulate his opponent. As you know, if you follow the podcast, you know that I work at a university, so I have to mention ethics too. So, hey, that's like the 30 seconds of ethics. We have to ask ourselves, is that ethical to actively, willingly manipulate the audience, manipulate your opponent, manipulate everybody using the media, manipulate the media? Is that ethical? Just ask yourself. Just reflect on that. Is that what we want? It was funny now once. It was like, hey, look at him. It was crazy. Did it? Oh my God, he's not crazy. Just acted like it. It was funny now, but do you want to get fooled like this all the time? What about if every fighter now does that and everyone's just putting on a performance like it's not even remotely him? okay, that's 30 seconds of ethics done. They go out the window again. But I hope you understand what I'm saying. So, hey, yeah, with great power comes great responsibility. Me having lots of reach with the media, being a celebrity, being famous, you have lots of power, you have lots of responsibility. So do you want to use it like that to manipulate people? Or don't you? Or you want to be real? You want to keep it real? That's what we have to ask ourselves. So that leads me just to the conclusion of this quick boxing Ryan Garcia episode here. Overall, I found it very interesting to see how like a combat sports person, a boxer, was able to utilize the media without the media realizing that they're being manipulated. And the people that interviewed him didn't realize that he's manipulating, that he's just acting, that he's just performing. They thought it's really how he is right now. So he must be a very good performer, a very good actor. And it was just interesting to see how he was able to perform, to manipulate, and to really frame everything the way he wanted to frame and to achieve every point that's on his agenda. That was pretty impressive. So heads up to him for this. I'm wondering how you feel about it. Do you feel like, oh, he got us? Do you feel like, I don't know, that's too much, that's fake, that's not real, that's lying, and I don't want that? Like, how do you feel being manipulated like this by an athlete? Yeah, let me know, shout out in the comments, that would be awesome, or like leave some reviews, which really helps with the podcast reach. Like, share, subscribe. You know, if you don't like, share, subscribe, I send Ryan Garcia after you, so you better do it. Until then, as always, stay safe, take care, keep your guard up. Until next time. Sorry.